The other big thing, of course, I mentioned there's no football for 2.5 weeks. That's not quite true. There is a game at St Mary's on Saturday, George. Saints versus Pompey, the women's game. They lost today, though, didn't they? And Pompey are going into this one on a bit of form, which is remarkable when you look at the table.
Yeah, if you'd have asked me this question about a month ago, I'd have told you that no, Saints would win that regardless of how poorly they've been playing. But Pompey have won back-to-back games, their first 2 wins since being promoted. So they'll come into it with a bit of fire in their bellies. But Marianne Spacey-Cale's back in the dugout now and narrow 2 under feet. But from looking at little bits about the game, I wasn't there. Doesn't sound like they created too many chances, but they were playing top of the league in Birmingham. So 2 under feet isn't too bad, all things considered. But I mean, they're hoping to get a lot of fans down at St Mary's for the game's 5:30 kickoff, so should be a decent occasion. But people want to go and they'll want to go and see a team winning a game at St Mary's, and the fact that that could be one of the rare chances to see a senior team win, because the 21s have played at St Mary's and they'll be playing against Blackburn, and they possibly could win a game, to be fair to them, because they are doing quite well, although they lost today. But yeah, I mean, the women's team, they're in a bit of a tricky position at the minute because their season is just dead in the water. It's only really this game that really matters because they're not going to go down. And okay, maybe Portsmouth, now they're starting to turn things around, could end up going above them if they manage to keep their run going. And that would be quite a damning indictment of how the season's ended for Saints women. But yeah, I think it's one of those where it's difficult to get too excited about them as a team, but a game against Portsmouth and a potential chance to beat Portsmouth ahead of probably 2 games against them next season, that's something at least to get behind.
I just feel like we're setting ourselves up for a fall, Glenn, because I've seen a lot of publicity around this, and then I hadn't noticed until George mentioned it today about Pompey winning back-to-back games heading into the derby.
Well, I watched the full 90 minutes of the league game at Fratton Park, and Saints won that 5-0. But it was, they were always the better side, and it was relatively. I think it was still only sort of like 1-0 on about.
The goals were quite late, weren't they?
Yeah, and then the roof fell in. Yeah, I mean, Saints looked the better side, but I don't think Saints have won in their last 6 or 7 games. So
it's 8 in the league now since I think early November they beat Charlton 1-0.
And we've highlighted it, a couple of times on here how badly the season has kind of petered out. And today's result, narrow defeat, but again, it's another defeat, and that's not what given the intention of Saints at the start of the season to push for promotion. That's you shouldn't be on an 8-game non-winning run, and it's just not good enough, really. And I mean, I'm assuming that's the reason that Remy Allen is no longer there, and Marianne Spacey-Cale has to get it sorted. And I think I don't know who she reports to, but a home defeat against Portsmouth would not go down very well, I don't think, with anybody. And if they want to be taken seriously, they have to win games like this. So.
Anything else before we wrap up tonight? I know, Liam, you're standing by. You got your podcast on the way, haven't you?
We did delay it till 8:15, so we didn't clash, and I didn't have to do 2 shows at once. And I'm conscious that doing this on this camera on this particular show probably doesn't showcase the quality that we'd like to try and produce. But also, this is probably slightly smoother than a Saints game, so maybe the audience will be a little bit more forgiving because it's a little more professional than we've seen all season. But I don't think I got anything. It's just I go to a lot of games. Like I said, I went to Liverpool. I was at Wolves. I went to Chelsea. I went to Man United. It's just went to Ipswich, and this is one of those rare. This last week was one of those rare occasions where I walked up to the stadium thinking we can actually get some points here, and now I am literally in the same place as I've seen so many other fans that are in both of our respective audiences, where I just want it to be the end of the season now. And the women's game on Saturday, if Pompey win that, it's just icing on the cake, isn't it? To be honest with you, it's got to a point where friends of mine who are Portsmouth fans are no longer deciding to ridicule out of basic sympathy, and that's bad.
Yeah, I found that. Yeah.
That's how far we've come.